Have you ever wondered which country can claim the title of being the oldest in the world? A question indeed that has sparked numerous debates among historians and scholars alike. To answer it, we must journey back in time, to the dawn of civilization. Picture a world vastly different from ours, where human societies were just beginning to form. The birth of civilization, as we know it, occurred around the 4th millennium BCE. Two regions in particular stand out as the cradle of early civilization: Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. In the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, humanity witnessed the rise of its first city-states. These were independent entities, each with its own ruling authority.
Subscribe to my channel.
They were the precursors to modern cities, boasting sophisticated systems of agriculture, trade, and governance. The names of some like Uruk and Ur still echo through the annals of history. Simultaneously, a similar phenomenon was unfolding in the Indus Valley. Here, city-states like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro were establishing themselves, characterized by their urban planning and architectural prowess. These city-states, much like their Mesopotamian counterparts, were independent, each with its own distinct cultural and political identity. These early city-states, however, were more than just large settlements. They represented the first examples of organized societal structures. They laid the groundwork for the concept of nationhood. Within their boundaries, people began to identify themselves as part of a collective, sharing common customs, beliefs, and a sense of community. Thus, these city-states, in essence, were the first nations. So as we delve deeper into our quest to identify the world's oldest country, remember this: the journey begins not with countries as we know them today, but with these ancient city-states, for it was here, in the heart of Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley, that the seeds of modern nationhood were first sown. These early city-states were the building blocks of what would eventually become the world's first countries. The story of their evolution, their rise and fall, is the story of humanity's quest for civilization and nationhood, a tale that continues to unfold, even today. From the city-states of Mesopotamia, nations began to take shape. This marked the beginning of a new era in human civilization, as the concept of a nation was born. Two of the most remarkable of these first nations were Egypt and Sumer. Let's take a journey back in time to around 5,000 years ago. The ancient land of Egypt, cradled by the fertile banks of the Nile River, witnessed the rise of one of the world's first nations. The pharaohs, or divine rulers, held absolute power, their authority believed to be ordained by the gods themselves. This divine kingship model established a centralized state with a rigid hierarchy, a model that would be emulated by many future civilizations. Meanwhile, in the Fertile Crescent of the Middle East, another civilization was taking shape: Sumer. Unlike Egypt, Sumer was not unified under a single ruler. Instead, it was a collection of independent city-states, each governed by its own king. These city-states were among the first to develop a written system of laws, the Code of Ur-Nammu, a precursor to modern legal systems. The influence of these first nations can be seen in how they shaped the formation of future nations. Egypt's centralized state model was echoed in the empires of Rome and China, and the idea of divine rulership persisted through the Middle Ages in Europe. Sumer's city-states, meanwhile, set the groundwork for the concept of federalism, where power is divided between a central authority and constituent political units. This model is visible in many modern nations, including the United States and Germany. In terms of culture, both Egypt and Sumer left an indelible mark. The pyramids of Egypt and the ziggurats of Sumer stand as testaments to their architectural prowess, while their art, literature, and mythology continue to fascinate us. These first nations, with their unique models of governance and rich cultural contributions, set the precedent for the formation of countries and governments throughout history. They remind us that the nations we know today have deep roots in the past, shaped by the trials, triumphs, and wisdom of our ancestors. As nations formed and grew, so did their systems of government. At the dawn of civilization, the concept of governance was intrinsically tied to religion. The earliest known theocratic societies, such as ancient Egypt and Sumer, were ruled by religious leaders who claimed divine right. The pharaohs and kings acted as both political leaders and high priests, embodying the unity of religious and secular authority. As societies developed, so did their political structures. The ancient Greeks introduced a revolutionary concept that would forever change the course of governance: the concept of democracy. Around the 5th century BC, Athens became the cradle of democracy, a system where citizens had the power to participate in decision-making. The word democracy itself stems from the Greek words demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning power. Simultaneously, another form of government was taking shape in the city of Rome. The Romans established a republic, a system where the country is considered a public matter, and governance is carried out by representatives elected by citizens. The Roman Republic, though not a true democracy, was a significant step towards the democratic principles we uphold today. These early democracies and republics were not without their flaws. They were often limited to a select group of citizens, excluding women, slaves, and foreigners. The systems were prone to corruption, factionalism, and political instability. Nevertheless, they laid the foundation for political thought and governance. These ancient systems inspired the democratic and republican systems we see today, where power lies in the hands of the people and their elected representatives. The evolution of government has been a process of trial and error, with each new system building on the successes and failures of the ones that came before. It's a story of human endeavor, of our constant quest for a fair and just society. And while the journey is far from over, we can look back and marvel at how far we've come in our understanding of governance and democracy. The concept of the modern nation-state as we know it today is relatively new in the grand scope of history. This concept, a country where a distinct cultural or ethnic group inhabits a territory and governs itself, is a product of the Middle Ages and Renaissance in Europe. As we journey back in time, we find ourselves in the Middle Ages, a period of immense change and transformation. During this era, the feudal system that had dominated for centuries began to crumble, giving way to new political structures. Kings and queens consolidated power, creating centralized governments that controlled larger territories. These territories laid the foundation for the modern nation-states. Moving forward to the Renaissance, an era of rebirth and enlightenment, we see this concept of a nation-state further solidified. The printing press played a crucial role in this process. It spread ideas and information, fostering a shared sense of identity among people who spoke the same language and shared cultural traditions. This sense of shared identity is key to understanding the nation-state as it exists today. But how do these modern nation-states differ from the nations of antiquity? Well, the ancient nations were often city-states like Athens or Sparta, where political power was concentrated in a single city. These city-states were often ruled by kings or oligarchies, and the citizens shared a common culture and language. However, they lacked the territorial extent and the centralized political structures that characterize modern nation-states. In contrast, the modern nation-state is a sovereign entity that governs a specific geographical area and represents a population that shares a common culture or ethnicity. It has a centralized government that maintains authority over the entire territory, and it interacts with other nation-states on matters of international concern. In essence, the modern nation-state is a product of historical evolution, shaped by technological advancements, political changes, and cultural shifts. It's a fascinating journey from the city-states of antiquity to the vast interconnected world of modern nation-states. The modern nation-state has become the dominant form of political organization around the world, but it is just the latest step in a long evolutionary process. So, which country can claim the title of being the oldest? That's the question we've been journeying towards. Egypt, Iran, and China are often nominated as contenders. Let's consider Egypt first. Ancient Egypt was one of the world's first civilizations with a recorded history dating back over 6,000 years. Its legacy, from the iconic pyramids to hieroglyphic inscriptions, is a testament to its longevity. But here's the catch. The modern state of Egypt as we know it didn't take shape until the 20th century. Next up is Iran, another cradle of civilization. Iran's history stretches back to the Elamite kingdoms around 4,500 years ago, and it has been continually inhabited ever since. However, the current Islamic Republic of Iran was only established in the late 20th century. Then there's China, a country with a rich tapestry of history. The first unified Chinese state was established over 2,000 years ago during the Qin dynasty, but the country has gone through several dynastic changes, revolutions, and even periods of disunity. So, you see, the issue lies in how we define oldest. Are we talking about the oldest continuous civilization, the oldest state, or the oldest nation in its current form? And even if we could agree on a definition, there's another hurdle: the historical record itself. History, as we know, is often a murky pool of uncertainties and contradictions. This brings us back to our original question: which country is the oldest? Well, the answer is complicated. Each contender has its own unique claim, backed by millennia of history. but none can definitively prove its case beyond a shadow of a doubt. While it may be impossible to definitively say which country is the oldest, the journey through history to answer this question has shown us the fascinating evolution of nations and governments. It's a testament to the resilience and adaptability of human societies, a story that continues to unfold even today. So, perhaps the real value lies not in the destination, but in the journey itself.